Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Design Review Board. Would you like to, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'd like for you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We always start off by introducing our board members, and we're all volunteers on these boards. So to my left,
Ed Parsons, I live on Red Road.
Marty Littleton, I live on Freemanville.
Tony Shepard, Nettlebrook Farms.
Laura Weissong, Crooked Creek.
Good. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good go. Bob and Angela, are there any changes to the agenda? Anything dropped off?
I am actually going to ask, when we get there, to refer 7B, but we can do that when we get there. Can't just drop it, so we can defer it when we get there.
Good deal. All right. We got an approval for the agenda. How about an approval for the November meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the November meeting minutes.
Second. All in favor? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good to go. All right. We're moving along fast. Number 5A, 2415 Mountain Road, James and Megan Gilker. Partial demolition of a house. Come on down. This is such a lovely structure.
Megan Gilker, 2415 Mountain Road.
Did you fill out one of the little cards?
They have little yellow cards for you to fill out over there. So.
James Gilker.
So what are your plans?
We'll tear the house down, leave the basement, and rebuild a new home.
Okay.
We tried to save the house, and it's not up to anything.
So are you making the house substantially larger?
I guess it just really depends on the plans that we decide on.
Okay.
Do you have a
We
time
are-
frame for redevelopment?
Pardon?
Do you have a time frame for redevelopment?
As soon as we can get the plans
Soon as we-
together.
Because, I don't know, if you
Well,
can take it and leave an open basement.
the request that I would have is that the demolition itself not take place until such time that you have a set of plans and you're ready to move forward with putting the structure up.
Just don't want it to be a big hole in the ground.
So what we try to do is, and what's happened in the past in these demolitions, is somebody will come and tear a building down or leave it, like for example, under normal circumstances, we require that you locate and find the septic tank. You take and open the septic tank up, fill it full of dirt so that it's safe. If there's any wells on the property, you have to secure all the wells. Utilities all have to be secured. You can't leave the space with any garbage or debris left over from the demolition itself. It's got to be basically cleaned and grassed or sown for grass so that it looks like it's a decent, clean spot. Because what we've had happen in the past, just so I can give you the information, is that we've had somebody do it and then leave us a trash pile that stayed there for about 2 years or 3 years. And so what we do is we request that as part of our conditions for to do the demolition, that you keep it clean, you keep it safe. And so even though this is an eyesore of a house, no harm meant, but eyesore of a house, it's a bigger eyesore if you have an open basement there, and it's a bigger liability for yourself and for the city.
Yeah.
So
As soon as we can get the plans together and the financing, I mean, I would like to have it done within a year, year and a half, like finished.
Well, that's fine, but what we would want is when you tear the house down is when you're going to start construction in a relatively short period of time. Now, I don't know what the rules are, Bob, if we do have rules that state that they have to start it by a certain date if we give them the demolition approval.
Before they can do anything, they're still required to go down and secure a demolition permit and go on the building.
You've
Right.
already done that, haven't you?
So, this is just, the DRB.
Okay.
It's still responsible for the demolition permit from the Department of Buildings.
Yeah,
Make sure you have your letter and everything that you're doing.
they have all that. They deposited my check.
She's done all that.
You've done all that, so it's just sitting there waiting? Okay, so, and it sounds like the application's ready to be processed.
Yeah, we've done all that.
but
We're waiting to tear the house down so we can finally see if the basement holds up or not. If it doesn't, then we're gonna do exactly what you said. We're gonna fill it in.
It's a cinder block
Yeah,
foundation.
it's a cinder block foundation. We want to see if it holds up or not. We've already done it. We've actually stripped the house. We were going to try to save it. It had hardwood floors in it, and it was made out of 2x2s, and it wasn't structurally sound. So we're ready to proceed on all that.
Right. It kind of looks like it might have been one of those 1960s
Yes,
modular
like a
type.
Jim Walter home is what it turned out to be, made out of 2x2s.
Right.
And just siding. So we're ready to go. But we don't even know if the basement will hold up. Well, I'm going to take it down by hand, and I understand that. I'm in construction as far as filling it in and grassing and everything.
Well, I'm just looking out for your interest of safety and for yourself as well. So as long as there's going to be continual motion of to what you're going to do, then that's fine. But you've got to make sure that you secure it, because in all these cases we've asked, like for example, I would assume you're not going to use the existing septic tank system with this house.
No, we've already done what you asked to do.
Okay.
You've already filled it?
Yep.
So then the next step will be is
We're gonna
just
try to
not
save-
having a hole in the ground
Right.
to be,
We're going to try to save the well. The well is there. We want to try to use the water and not run Fulton County water up there until later on.
okay.
If she wants to have a horse, we're going to try to use the well for a horse.
Okay. All right, you understand what our concerns are. Our concerns
I
are about
do.
safety and the
We just don't want to leave a
public
hole in
portion.
the ground for a
Right.
year
I
or
live
better.
right down the street on Mountain Road myself,
Okay.
and
Well, listen, I mean, you look like great people, so I mean, the problem is if I don't make the comments,
right.
then somebody says, well, you might have liked them and you didn't give the comments. So I have to
Right.
say basically the same spiel every single time. And what I would prefer is that if you would agree to, when you tear this house down, that you either determine that the basement's savable and then you secure it, or you go ahead and start getting construction on it right away, or you demo the basement at the same
I
time.
don't have any problem with that.
Do you agree with that, Bob?
I do, I mean, if he saves it and protects it, he might have like one of those red fences or some sort of a temporary fence around it for a while.
Right. I mean, but even those red fences, Bob, the truth is that from, unfortunately for me, I know.
We put a gate on the property because we've had some people try to dump some trash there.
Okay.
So we've installed a gate at the front of the property now.
We could probably do more fencing.
Okay. Personally, I would rent a fence, put a chain link fence around it if you leave the basement up and you're going to leave it unattended for any particular point in time. Because you never know what kids may, in fact, cross over to your property, even though it's illegal for them to do so, and they fall into that building. So that's more for your protection than it is for us. I mean, this house is far enough off the road, isn't it, to where you don't really see it. So
Yeah, it's up the driveway.
it's not that it's going to be that big of an eyesore for us, but it's about the safety issue. So I don't personally have any problems with the demo of this particular structure. Does anybody else in here? Do we have any public comment? So nobody really trying to save Jim Walter's reputation?
I make a motion to approve agenda item 5A, 2415 Mountain Road.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, 5B, 615 Hickory Flat Road. R. Hardy Smith. Is that right? Did I get- Yep. Ousted. Anybody here representing 615 Hickory Flat Road? Angela, would you like to make a motion for us to defer this?
Make a motion to defer agenda item 5B, 615 Hickory Flat Road.
Second.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good to move on. 6A, Kinsley Pool Amenity on Webb Road, Pulte Homes. Michelle. All right, Michelle, we've met you before, so we say no.
That was Wheeler Homes then, wasn't it?
Wasn't it Wheeling Homes?
It used to be, yes. We were acquired by Pulte in January.
All right.
And so this neighborhood is branded as a John Whelan neighborhood. So it's being built by Pulte, but it's a John Whelan brand.
Okay.
So my architect is en route. He's on Deerfield Parkway at the moment. So he'll be pulling in with boards for you with all the colors and stuff. But he did prepare a booklet for you that you have in front of you. So this is the amenity building. We talked about it, I think maybe 2 months ago, as far as the location of it. That has gone through the council process for that variance, and now we are looking strictly at the design of the building. So the overall neighborhood theme here is kind of that southern vernacular of design, a lot of siding, porches on all of the homes. And then, so to pull off of that and to go with a simple version for the amenity.
My understanding is you're starting on the model home. You're starting on the model home.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Talked to one of the builders today, and they are getting started on the model.
Bob, were all the variances approved?
And I did meet with this applicant several times, and we went over the architecture and kind of try to blend their vernacular and what they're doing in the neighborhood to the code and try to go over work and we've been in a lot of elements and I thought they did a good job of trying to get everything that we needed in there.
Okay. Any questions from any members from the board?
Is there anything being housed in the tower?
The mailboxes, as you all know, we're required to do the central mailboxes in all the new neighborhoods. So we are going to put the mailboxes in there. So it will be open to the front, not to the amenity itself. But nothing vertical, just the mailboxes down.
So we can't
underneath.
have a clock tower sniper? So,
That tower's actually kind of nice, it's boards and there's gaps in between the boards. That's the way it will be.
so the snipers can't hide.
So then
The birds will.
Yeah, no hiding. And it will be lit. So the idea is that you will have the light will come through between the openings of the boards.
We added the roof structure with the brackets, the overhangs, and it'll be covering over the front doors,
So does the height of the tower help obscure the wall behind it?
the wall behind it.
It's to pull your focus off the wall and bring it forward.
Huh.
We added shutters all along the elevation that's gonna be adjacent to the one dwelling unit on that left side, the elevation left side.
Did we put a movie screen on the wall?
So on that left side, the grade will be a little bit higher there, so the foundation will be acting as a retaining wall as well, so you won't have the full building. And then that's the side of the residence, so it's not the front that anyone's staring at. It's the side down the alley, and it will be landscaped between the edge of the alley and that building.
So the neighbor would see that.
And then there's an arbor that connects the tower with the main, the bathhouse. Yeah, we will have some shade, considering with some shade.
Oh, I know, it would be this.
No.
big. It's not a very large amenity area, but if you look at the site plan, it really too much like most.
And then we purposefully-
Street parking in the front, they have a walkway for the mail kiosk, and a way to get to walkways through the woods. And then they sort of put the bathhouse in a nice position so that the house on the left side, facing, looking at the drawing, won't hear the noise and see the activity in the pool.
Okay.
So it kind of gives a nice privacy area to that residential unit, which I thought was nice of them.
So facing that residential unit are all the shutters and all that?
Yeah, we put some fake shutters, well, they're vents, but we put some shutters in there just to make it look residential. We also raised the grade there, so that there's a driveway that's adjacent to that, so as you're driving in, you don't see the full height of the structure. I'll let the architect do the rest of it.
Hello. Yeah, sorry I'm tardy. My name is Woody Vaughn with Norwood Architects.
If you could just go over the building materials. Make sure that we
It
get
can
that
be
on
an
file.
easel.
Yeah, let's see.
This is so far back, it's like, people are gonna see it or nobody else is gonna see this building.
This way, Betty, just have it.
They had talked about landscaping back here, if they're still doing it. That's what they just said. What's that? I just said that now.
Okay, so you want me to just go over the materials so you guys understand the function of the building? Okay.
Site plan.
So the parking lot is here. Entrance to the pool clubhouse is here. There's sort of an open air foyer. You come in, this is your pool. We've got a trellis area here. Here's a tower element that houses the mailboxes. And then this element here is men and women's restroom, pool equipment room. We have some sun deck here. And then there is a railing as everything, the grade slopes. So high grade over here, everything slopes from left to right down. Let me show you. What's that? Right to left, yes. So here is, if I flip this around and confuse you more,
Yeah, hold it.
you will see this is the entrance to the pool house with a gate, sort of cant roof with some simple cedar beams. We've got parapets that are made out of brick, and you'll notice there's a few of these parapets as you're looking to the right of the building. There's a few of these parapets that sort of articulate the facade and break it up. We've got some, so this is the entrance going into the, I think it's the men's, on that side, the first one you come to, or the women's?
No, the first one's women's.
Women's, so this is the women's restroom on this side. This is the opening to the men's restroom. This is the door to the pool equipment room. Again, these have sort of matching cant roofs. Again, very simple vernacular beams, natural wood. We have some faux, really kind of look like barn doors, just again to dress up the facade. And all of these parapets are brick. And then as you look to this side, this is brick. And then the other material we have is basically horizontal siding, hardy siding. And the brick is a gray, and the hardy is also a gray. So these are all the same color.
So it's a painted brick?
Painted brick. We have a weatherwood asphalt fiberglass shingle, and all of our beams, I've already mentioned, are cedar. Let's see.
I got it.
So from this elevation, the front side, the parking side, we've got 5/8 by 8 inch hardy with about 2 3/4 inch gap between material. This is sort of screening, but still open air. This is the sort of kiosk mailbox element. And then obviously the backside, you can see the backside is also brick. And then the left elevation, again, you can see the parapet walls. And then because we have some venting, the men and women's restroom addition just got heat. So we have some decorative shutters, sort of plantation type shutters here, that behind it will actually, there's some insect screening, but there'll be some fans that actually bring in ventilation to ventilate the interior. Same thing here, these are sort of the cross ventilation on the pool deck side that allows that ventilation through.
We broke up the roof mass into 3 pieces so that it doesn't look like one big mass.
You know, it's amazing to me. It comes back to architecture that you see more buildings come back with a contemporary kind of look to it. You know, I personally always liked contemporaries, but
Yeah, it's sort of a merge of, you know, sort of the very rustic, vernacular, sort of farmhouse style, sort of modernizing it with more simple materials, not getting too decorative.
We try to keep the historic elements, make it sort of a millennial style development, you know, kind of people kind of thought family, looking for this kind of urbanized development, urbanized living, work-life play. Can I just say, the crimp metal gray is what the roof, or?
Yes, so what we wanted to do is the 5B crimp, which is just simple galvanized metal. Again, the very vernacular, simple.
So there's 2 awnings over the front door and then the entrance into the pool.
And this,
Right.
the 6993, this one here is where?
That one is the black. I'm trying to remember. That's at the maybe the brown.
Doors or something?
Just check.
Correct.
Oh, that's the iron gate. So like the gate,
Okay.
and then on. Actually, one more.
The gutters are white, the brick is sort of this cinnamon color.
So this is yes. So there is some iron railing here. That's on the end of the pool with a view that down the
Yeah, so
sort of down the
that's
slope.
this side that looks out over the water area and the creek that runs through here in the woods. So we wanted to open up that as much, so rather than, we had the privacy over here against the parking in the street, but over here we wanted it to be open into the woods.
And the deck is just scored concrete? It's an architectural style shingle. Like a weather.
Is there any landscaping facing the parking?
Yes, absolutely. We haven't done the landscaping plan, but there is a landscape strip back here, and then part of the council's requirement was that we have that approved by the arborist, the material that we put in here. But this will all be landscaped. This will all be heavily landscaped as well between the parking and the building itself.
Is there any sort of aerial view to get an idea how that fits in with like the rest of what the neighborhood's gonna look like?
Yeah, I didn't bring. I mean, I've got the site plan that I didn't in the booklet. I'm trying to think if there's a. It was just a Google map, but it doesn't. Since the development's not there yet, it doesn't show.
Will the, while you're looking for that, will the brick at the water table facing the parking lot, will that be painted as well?
Yes, correct. This would all be the same color
Okay.
and consistent.
And the boards that go around the tower, cement boards?
Yeah, we use
Yes,
the hardy.
they're hardy. Yes. Right. 5/4. Yeah, exactly. Just so we can make that span.
Yes, and this match.
Yeah, the railing and the tower will have to be that very high.
Yeah, it's not there.
Will there be screening behind that board? Or is it just gonna be an open
Yeah,
air
there's
tower?
about a 2 3/4 inch gap between each board. So
Not
that.
screens, but not like inside
Like-
screens.
Oh, inside.
Yeah, just, I
Oh,
mean,
up
for
here,
birds
no.
nesting in it and all that type of thing.
We had not planned on doing that. No.
Good answer.
Just don't park in that spot.
Yeah, it is. I think it's
Yeah, because all those little ins and outs, I mean, you're just inviting something to nest up in there.
Creatures.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
This is a courtesy review, so. Right?
That's
Or
the
is this
final.
Is the final review? Okay, yeah. It's not-
It's helpful to see kind of how it all fits in
Let me see if I can.
the rest of.
I'd like to see, because it fits in with the rest, I mean, the houses are beginnings to the big three, the ones that they just starting to build, it's sort of looking something like that, 3 stories, porches in the back. Three big outlines, that style.
It's just hard. I think when we do these, we really do need to have aerial views. I think that's on our checklist, and we really should keep doing that because we can't visualize how it all works together. And I don't like to personally approve something unless you can kind of see what the whole big picture is. I think. Oh, that'd be great.
Pardon me.
You okay with it, Tony? You okay?
Yeah, as long as I really just want to see how it all fits. I can't really visualize what this looks like in the middle of all the other houses,
Were you here for the other one?
just to understand what the design looks like.
Were you here for the other one when they were here before us? It's probably 2-3 months ago. They had it all laid out. I remember what it was. This is like in the total back, I mean, nobody's ever gonna see except for the 6 houses that surround it. Because people aren't even gonna drive up there unless they drive into the pool. Everybody else is gonna go out that other direction, so they really stuffed this in the back.
Michelle, will this part of your project be built before the houses that are attached to it are built?
Yes, so we will start this, our plan is to start it in the spring. This is in phase 2, which is scheduled to record in January.
Okay.
And then we will start on this right away. So
The
we'll
reason
submit
being
for
is that
People
at
will
least
have it.
somebody will know when they buy a house that what they're buying in front of.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other reason we try to do this fairly early is so that we can give all these renderings to sales. They have all this up in their sales center, and the rendering that you all saw a couple months ago, they have that. So the residents that are buying know
Know what
know
you're
what
getting.
know what our plans are.
And where's the model home? Where's the?
In relation to this, talking the microphone in with this. So the road here crosses over this creek, and then we're in phase 1 now, and the model is about right here in phase 1. It's on lot 5, so it's 5 lots in from that entrance on the right. And then it wraps around to lot 11, crosses over the creek, and then we have the amenity. And so here you can see the little bit, there's a house here that fronts, so these 3 front and look towards it. This one faces this way, away from it, and those are really the only 4 houses. There's a park over here,
How
another
many
park.
houses are planned?
I'm sorry?
How many houses are planned?
76-ish.
And you got 6 parking spaces?
It's obviously small neighborhood. You know, I think most people will walk, but if they come with friends or friends meet them, and then but yeah, it's definitely not overparked.
I think the question is it underparked?
Yeah,
You know, how many parking spots do you have there?
6.
6 parking spots for 7.
7
including
plus
the
ADA.
handicap. Are they gonna allow, I guess that would be an HOA issue, wouldn't it, on-street parking in front of?
We do allow, we do allow on-street parking here as well, so there is, there's some additional parking nearby in front of the houses and things, with everything being alley served. But we'll buy them wagons for closing gifts so they can wheel the kids and the stuff to the pool.
There you go.
You can throw in a golf cart or two. I just got accused of driving my golf cart to my pool.
We have a lot of them in our neighborhood, and it's not a
My
golf
pool's in my
cart.
backyard, so. drive
Oh,
back and
okay.
forth.
She used the little scooter thing.
Have it
My
around the
scooter.
corner.
Steve Beecham broke his foot with his, so I have to delay my.
Maybe segways, they don't take up as much room as golf carts.
That's my COPD. Yep.
Okay, I'm good. I just needed to see the whole thing.
Good. Can we get someone to make a motion?
Make a motion to
Thank you.
approve item
Thank you.
6A, Kinsley Pool amenity on Webb Road as submitted.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, board, very much.
6B, Glenn.
He walked in a little bit late. I wonder if he's not the guy that had that,
I'll come back to
I
it.
wonder if it's him.
Okay. 6B, Glenville Townhomes, Arnold Mill, Green Road, Cowart Residential.
Good evening. I'm Dean Cowart with Cowart Residential, and Bob has my yellow card. Here tonight on a request of earlier in the year when I came in with my townhome project, we had 2 buildings that we requested for approval, which you did. And tonight I'm requesting for a revision on the brick that was originally selected. I brought in a sample of brick that I'd like to swap. That's the new brick, yes.
And what was the old brick?
It was a boral. It's in the picture packet. Due to availability, I wanted to swap out to a comparable brick color.
Okay. Looks good to me.
Very cool.
I think it's got more use in it, it's deeper, it's got more texture, and it looks more like a hand-formed brick than a machine brick. So I think it's actually gonna end up giving it much more of a naturalized look.
And in your packet, you will see that there is a request for the building that was approved as 1, 2, 3. I'd like to move my first start down to building 15, 16, 17. And there is a slight change to the elevation where we added an additional window on the front elevation of the Saratoga plan. That plan was approved earlier, but we needed.
In the sheet B, one plot one, it says revised submittal.
Right.
You'll see the upper floor has 4 windows across now instead of 3.
Oh, right.
And the reason he did that because he had an interior wall.
Had an interior wall
separating
conflict.
like the 2 bedrooms, so he wants to get double windows on each one.
The only concern I have, though, is on the side view, removing 2 windows. So on the C1 left elevation and the A1 right, there were 2 windows there. Now there's only 1 on both sides.
Would there be an objection to if there is a conflict with floor plan to something that would be more of a shuttered window?
Can you center it, or
Yes.
are you saying center it with shutters?
No, what I meant was if it
Oh,
was,
window.
to put the window back, because if you don't want the massing to be devoid of the window, putting a window that's shuttered closed, as in a false window, so to speak.
I see. Yeah, so I'm on,
B 1.2.
She's on 4.1 and 4.5, I think.
That's front.
other pages, I can see.
There it is.
A4.1 and A4.5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was looking in the wrong spot. Yeah, so if you go back to your original on E.
You can't get that window in B because of the wall front?
Right. Yeah, there is a conflict inside on the closet wall.
Well, we have allowed shutters in place of windows.
Yeah, I just, just balance. That's, I mean,
I agree.
you're the architect.
I agree.
No
I'm
windows
just
there.
visualizing.
It shouldn't have to be the other.
Not here, no?
Yeah, it just looked
What'd you see?
See, this is
kind of a symmetrical person.
and they basically went to that.
Yeah, it had a, we're always trying to make sure the side views have a good look and feel, so that's.
I mean, I'm okay with, if that's what Laura would like, I'm okay with that if you're okay with it.
I can certainly work with Bob
Center.
to, come up with a concept that if he deems views, balances that out,
Okay.
that I could work with Bob on that.
Bob, are you willing to do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I just get
Enough
back
said.
to the brick that's 30 seconds?
Yep.
Just want to make sure the brick that you're using in the wall,
The sample?
same brick, right?
Correct, yes, it's all
It's
the same.
this is the.
Consistent.
water table and the.
Precisely, yeah.
And
You all
there's no
good?
other changes to what you previously approved, right?
That's correct.
Except that he wants to move the numbers. This would now be,
15, 16.
15, 16, 17.
16, 17, still a group of three, and then you're still doing 27, 28, 29.
Right, that one is still a go.
Okay, and one of those will be your model?
Correct.
Just curious why the change.
Well, there's a pole, the power pole, and the utility company is really
Dragging.
dragging.
Okay.
And that pole needs to be moved for that building to work, so, and that was 15, 16, 17 was my next logical, because I want to build out of that.
To the front.
To the front, right.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Okay. So our motion will be a motion to approve, subject to the selected brick color that's been shown to us, which I assume is being recorded, and to move lots 1, 2, 3 over to lots 15, 16, and 17, and for the builder to meet with you in reference to the side faux windows. Does that catch it all?
Yeah, and I just want to ask, is the elevations the same thing as far as like where the front would be in the back and all, but is there any change? There's no difference there?
No, there's no difference. On,
Units.
yeah, from 15 and from like the one is to 50, correct, yeah,
Same thing.
right.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure. that we're
It's not, it's a basement lot per se.
still basement.
Same courtyard,
Okay.
Was that a
Same
motion you made?
So do I need to repeat this? No?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cowart, have a wonderful day.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep the brick.
Do we want to go back up to
Uh,
5?
Sir, when you just came in, are you part of 615 Hickory Flat Road? Yes, sir, I'm late. Come on down. Or can we do that? Wait a minute.
Well, let's just go ahead and knock it out.
Let's go ahead and, let's just, is it
It'll go
okay? We'll
quick.
go ahead and knock him out?
It'll go.
Come on down.
It'll go quick. That's fine.
5B.
Good evening. My name is Hardy Smith. I'm late because I'm stupid, because I thought the meeting was at 6:30.
I'm good.
And you're humble.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, could say it was traffic, but I'm just stupid. what we're proposing is I've purchased a 5-acre lot on Hickory Flat Road that I'm going to build my personal house on. There's an older house and a shed on the property that I would like to demolish. It's worse inside than it looks outside.
Man, I'd live there.
I couldn't get a picture of the front because the trees are grown all the way up to the front door, so that one picture is actually a side door.
I'm going to start off with my typical comments that you missed on the first demolition. One, if there's a well, you got to secure it.
Yeah.
If there's a septic tank, you got to open it, fill it in with dirt, secure it.
We fill them with gravel.
Okay.
The well, there is a well on the property.
As long as it's secured.
Yes. It will be filled with gravel, and then the septic tank, we'll find the septic tank.
Well, you know, I've always filled mine full of gravel
Yeah.
in the old days.
Yeah.
I've been reprimanded by several to tell me that it is supposed to be filled in with dirt.
Well, I'd rather fill it with dirt because dirt's cheaper than gravel, but I've always been told to fill it with gravel. I'll fill it with dirt if that's okay.
So, but at any rate, I'm just telling you why I said that.
Yeah, okay.
But it's got to be filled in. It's got to be secured.
Right.
When you tear the building down, you can leave no open basements. You can't leave any debris left on the property whatsoever.
Right.
You need to grade and rake it down and make it a clean, safe site.
Right.
It is meant for your protection as well as our citizens, and that children tend to like to gravitate towards stuff like this. And if you leave something up that can go wrong, it will.
Absolutely.
So, any comments, sir?
Yeah, when he was intending to file a permit to build a new house.
Have you already got your plans for your house? And
No.
Okay.
What we're going to do is hopefully, if we get this approved, I've still got to do the asbestos and the rodent letter and for actually the demo permit.
Okay.
First, if you tell me, yes, you can tear it down, then it's going to be the first of the year. But
Okay.
we're going to tear the house down. We'll probably start the house end of January.
So you're going right along.
So you're going to move right along. It's not going to be a drawn
Yeah,
out
no.
process. Safety and view shed is the key thing to it. The house certainly doesn't have, in my opinion, any redeemable values that would require us to want you to make it and live in it.
Yeah, it's not much of a house.
So does anybody else have any questions about this property?
Just as long as the approval is typical that if he doesn't file a permit, then 30 days he's got to temporarily seed property and make it pleasing to the.
Well, that was part of my requirement from the.
Yeah, no,
from
that's
what I
fine.
said.
I mean, we're going to tear it down, and, I mean, we seed and straw it anyway. We just tore one down on Hickory Flat, and Mark said it was a picture perfect. We
Good.
seed it, straw it, grade it.
Well, you know, then what I'm trying to stop is that we actually had a building torn down in Crabapple that was a rubble, pieces of building left sticking out of the ground for 2
Yeah.
years.
No.
So that's what we're trying to stop
Yeah.
from happening in this particular case.
It'll be torn down, seeded and straw the day it's cleaned up.
Good deal.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 5B, 1615 Hickory Flat Road.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Go
you,
and be
ladies and
stupid
gentlemen.
like the rest of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late.
That's okay. Courtesy reviews, 7A, 4010 Orchard Way, Randall Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt is requesting to allow a pool deck, and pool equipment to encroach in the 75-foot impervious setback.
Good evening. I brought pictures of the lot, and Randall Schmidt, Ocean Blue Pools, 1815 Hambry Road, Suite 311, Alpharetta.
See,
Go by 25.
there's a 75-foot right there. No, I mean, the entire pool's in the setback.
Right, so the entire pool will be in the setback.
Yes, sir. The actual setback goes right to the bottom step, like 3 inches from it.
How old is the house?
Brand new, 6 months old. Front yard has 80 foot of frontage, but the backyard, they brought the impervious buffer right up to the bottom step to the landing. You can see the grass in the backyard. We're not even going into the woods. We're just basically going to use the grassed area that's existing.
What is within the buffer?
But we will be encroaching into the impervious buffer, correct?
So what happens, Mr. Chair, is when people come in for building permits, I mean, when we see that they're close, we tell them, look, you have a buildable lot, but you realize that you're not gonna be able to get a pool in the back because you're right up against the buffer.
That's
And
right.
everybody at the time agrees and says, yes, we understand, and we know
Yeah.
where we are. And then very shortly thereafter, the pool contractor coming in saying, the owner bought it, and now they're looking for a variance to try to get a pool in.
Well, one of the problems-
I don't wanna stop anybody from having a pool, but there's gotta be a way to.
But we're not part of it in the impervious setback. It's the entire pool in the impervious setback.
Correct.
And the problem is that that sets an example that other people would make us adhere to. I can understand fencing, I can understand possibly the pool equipment or a small percentage, but you can't.
The actual
You
septic.
can't take 30%.
The septic tank's actually in the buffer as well, on the side of the house. There's sprinklers that go all the way back, 25 feet, 28 feet into that buffer.
The septic tank's on the front, the field.
Septic field's on the front.
It's on the left side rear.
It's over here,
It's in the impervious buffer.
but the field's in the front of the house.
Yeah, the field is, but the tank's in the back.
Right, but we
Yeah,
didn't
the
review and
tank's
approve
here, the
that.
field's here.
That's not what the pool
Understood.
was.
Unfortunately, the homeowners, this house was bought contingent on a pool going in. Salesperson and builder just said, hey, no problem, the tank's over here. You can put the pool here. They live in Miami. They don't even live here. They just come up every other weekend or whatever. So he's actually in the pool business. So he told me that's all they care about is getting a pool in. And they would never have bought that house if they knew this case. And I told them in the beginning, we did have this situation. They said, do your best to and apply for a variance.
The real truth and good conscience, I can't in any way promote the fact that the entire pool is going to be inside the setback. So I understand your homeowners need, want, and all that, but unfortunately, that is what's called surveys, and
Understood.
And
The,
that's what-
the model home right next door is in the buffer too. They actually have a pool house next to the pool, and it's all in the buffer.
I don't know who approved it. It wasn't part of my shtick, what I can do or not do.
Did they get a variance to do that?
I have no idea on that.
It would have to go to something bigger than me.
Angela, is that something that needs to be looked into? I mean, if they popped a pool in there.
Is there any way you could pull the pool closer to the house?
There's nowhere to go.
The buffer goes right up to the landing of the stairs, right up to the patio, the existing patio. There's not even 6 inches.
There's not enough room on the side. There's really not enough room even on the side.
No, because the tank and field's on that side. The other side's too close to the model home.
Well, you could move the tank. That's going to get expensive, but if you look where that tank is, it's a long run up to the front yard for the
Sure
drainage.
It's not very wide either, though.
So if they were to run their tank back over here, get the tank closer to the septic field, I don't know how.
I still got to stay 10 feet off of that, and I don't think between the property line and moving the tank and field, I still don't think we could get anything on that side of the house.
I don't think so either. My general, have they already closed on this house?
Yes, sir.
Does the tank have to be that, I mean, it's so far off the house?
Yeah.
Well, it's not our job to re-architect this.
Well, again, it
It's
defeats the purpose of having these impervious setbacks if we take and let people do them. unfortunately.
I went through this in Johns Creek last year.
And I would imagine the outcome was probably
Oh, I
the same.
put the pool in. We didn't have a problem. It was approved. Same situation exactly, but that was Johns Creek.
Well, we're not Johns Creek.
I understood.
So, you know, it's, and how would you like for me, since you've made that statement, how would you like for us as a board to be able to make this legitimate for somebody that comes along after you? Does that mean that we just allow for any pool to be put in any impervious setback?
Not
period?
at all.
So-
I knew we'd be running into a hard situation.
I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the homeowner or anybody else, but
Yeah,
we
they
get
just-
accused of municipalities all the time of, if you know somebody or whatever, you just agree to everything that comes along. And the reality is the rule, and so you have to show a hardship to set aside for the rule. And the problem here is we have a brand-new house. I'm a builder, retired, all it be, but the truth of the matter is that builder, if he told them they could put a pool in that house, I believe I'd be having that builder, have them call their builder and say, why can't I put a pool in my house?
Yeah, I think that's
And
what's going to happen.
Is their contract was it subject to the fact that they could put it in?
I'm sure it wasn't, but verbally, you know, since they live in Florida, they were up here for the weekend. Salesperson said, hey, this and that. Builder said this and that. They bought the house, you know, had no idea until they met me.
That
I
is why
explained
the people should have really good real estate agents that represent them when they go to buy a house versus
Or someone who can read a survey.
somebody that would say, these are the things that you need to worry about, what is important to you. So I'm a licensed real estate broker as well, and those are all questions that I ask, what is your intent, and this is what you can do. And I had a lunch discussion today and said that I would never buy a piece of property without having it surveyed and me knowing exactly what I'm buying and exactly what's all around me. That
I
is
understand.
just a way to have heartburn.
I would still say you ought to look into maybe moving the tanks.
We're going to look into that definitely.
I think that may actually be an option. If you were able to move those tanks, you know, another, I don't even know what the distance.
Do you know what the distance from side the house is to the?
Not offhand. I have the survey. I'll look into
You
it.
can kind of see what I'm saying here. You got the
But
tank
the
here.
HO
If you were able to run that tank up closer to the drain field,
Yes.
that might create enough space right in here.
But then we have then we have a problem with HOA. They don't like the pools on the side of the house.
There you go.
You got to stay behind the rear structure of the home.
There you go.
Thought it through pretty well, so
Well, I feel your pain and tell your consumer that we feel their pain, but
well, I did my best.
there you go.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Next, 7B, we're going to defer.
So do we need a motion?
Oh, no.
No. Okay, 7C is 825 Fox Hollow Run, Nicole and Jonathan Smith. Are they here? Okay,
I make a motion to defer agenda item 7C, 825 Fox Hollow Run.
It's already built.
What's that?
It's already built.
it's already built.
Well, they're changed, there's a deck there, and they want us to, turn that into a screen porch and then put in a new deck further out.
So that is to come back to us.
And then this one, the buffers did change since construction.
The house predated that.
The buffer change.
The 7C
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
7C. You're talking about?
All right, so we can move on. Okay, let's go to 7D, which is 2785 Francis Road. I will say it incorrectly. Is it Chrysalis Experimental Academy? Roy Alexander.
It's actually Chrysalis Experiential
Chrysalis.
Academy.
Okay.
No.
Sorry that I blew that.
You are just fine. You are quite normal with that. My name's Roy Alexander. I'm the headmaster and also requesting the structure that we are wanting to purchase to be converted to a small private school. we specialize in learning disabilities, students with autism, Asperger's, and so we have a very small student population. And we pick up several of our students because we have several that have physical ailments. And the existing structure on this property would be ideal for the school. The house, my wife and I would actually live in the house. The garage structure, which is the second structure on their house, is two-story, which can be converted to the school, to 5 classrooms. And so we're not doing anything to the property except using the existing structure. It was recommended, I believe, that we just alter the driveway a little bit, but that would be at the request of the city.
And you're in Roswell currently?
Yes.
And how long have you been at that location?
9 years.
Okay. And
So, just so you're clear, that variance request that we're looking for is parking in the buffer. And this would be a use permit, so it would have to go to council.
okay.
But, so you can comment on the use permit and the parking in the buffer.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this area since I'm not very far from here. I know this area pretty well, and I know that property. I think the challenge is, this is right next to a very high-end residential subdivision, and to me, it would be a gap in use from what's already currently in that particular area, which is mostly residential, on both sides and in the back. And I believe we have people here probably who are going to speak, just to let you know.
Okay. So our comments are limited to the parking, the entrance,
And the use.
and the use.
Can I just ask if it's a current automobile garage, and it's gonna use it as a school, wouldn't you have to take out the doors and do some modifications to the exterior to make this thing weatherproof and, in compliance with the International Building Code as far as.
Absolutely,
ADA
absolutely.
So you'd have to
Yeah.
come back later.
The,
Some modifications if you did get the use permit.
the property,
There'd be more to this than this is just the first shot across the bow,
right.
so to speak.
I just wanna make sure the board's aware of it.
The property actually, this structure was used to raise dogs.
Okay.
Both stories. It is 11 inches of concrete in the entire downstairs structure. And there are 5 rooms right now in the structure. The upstairs was a garage, but the whole lower part is dog pens and drainage, and it's pretty significant. So it wasn't used as a garage in the bottom area, which is really the significant part for the school that already exists. And it does currently have a parking lot. Where the parking is on this side here, that is currently a parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, the only modification we're making here is just adding a small amount of asphalt just to meet the current
Current
parking
standard.
code. Yeah.
So the yellow is the additional
The
concrete
yellow
or
would be the
asphalt.
additional asphalt in that area.
Okay. So the big question is going to come is, if in fact it were to go to a use that could be allowed, how big is it going to be?
As far
The demand.
As far as the school, well, there's always demand. My intentions, I've run some very large schools. Big is not better. We specialize with students where our student-teacher ratio is 1 to 3, 1 to 5, because these students don't perform well, large classrooms, large schools, and when you can really focus on them almost more as a tutoring center, then they get it, and we identify their particular learning styles. So it's very intimate with our students. So, our intentions, we want to remain very close-knit, very comfortable with our students. They feel very safe, and they feel that they have all the support they need. So, as far as growth, the model that I would go after would be starting different academies in different areas, because you can still maintain the very low teacher ratio and student-teacher ratio. And again, at the same time, this property, my wife and I are buying it. We would live in the property, so extremely sensitive to the rural area. This property, as ma'am, as you had mentioned, familiar with it, it's probably the prettiest property that I've seen, with the oak trees, that we can retain all of that. And so then the students have outdoors. We're in a commercial building right now, and there's nowhere for the students just to even be outside. And again, we have 25 students.
Okay.
So it's the size, there's always a demand, and there's always the opportunity perhaps in the future to grow. It's not our intent. Our intent is to give the service that we have always been for the students.
Yeah, most public wants to know about transportation, noise,
Absolutely.
light pollution, all those kinds of things that,
Sure.
that go with a use that's,
Or signage.
or signage, or any of those things that would,
Absolutely.
would be.
We would want to, signage. If you look at the residential neighborhoods, that would be ideal as a model for the signs for our school. Making it look. Our school, if you were to walk into our school, you almost feel like you're in a home. Couches. So, we want that homey feel, because the students perform a lot better in there. The transportation, we pick up several of the students. We have probably, with 25 students, I'm going to say 12 to 15 cars come in. And we have a number of students who have, obviously physical appointments that they have to get to. So we don't have carpool lines. Now that could change in the future, obviously. But our transportation, we provide a lot of it, and it's just a very small, close-knit community.
Okay.
Does the existing house itself have a garage structure?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a more of a portico, and it goes over to the other structure, so it is covered, which is also ideal for school, because the area and along the side of the garage structure from the top to the bottom is a covered cement concrete walkway down. So you have access to all places which are covered, which is great for, obviously, during.
What about school vans or?
We've got a Sprinter, Mercedes Sprinter van.
Okay.
12 passenger. That's the one van. That actually looks kind of nice.
The thing that we always ask is that if, in fact, you've reached out to the neighbors that attach the property themselves to see what, because you got to have public buy-in in order to be able to do something like this.
Absolutely. We had actually met the neighborhood next to us. We've met with probably about 20 of the neighbors that were, well, actually a couple of them have students with special needs, so they were quite enthusiastic about having a school like this. In that neighborhood, and forgive me, I forget the name of that particular neighborhood. Roxbury, I know, is across the street, but this actually sides to the house. And all of the neighbors there that we spoke with, which I said about 20, very encouraging and no problems. Roxbury across the street, some of them had the concerns of traffic and of course coming in and out from there naturally. And as we look, because again, my wife and I have been on the property, every day just cleaning it up. It was, it didn't look real good when we started in. There was
Did you
a lot of
buy the
trash.
property already?
We bought it, but of course, contingency upon being able to get the special use permit, since it is under AG1 and not rezoning, but of course the use permit. So we had to have a safeguard to that.
So you have it under contract, but
Absolutely.
not closed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the property had been vacant for about a year and a half, 2 years. Trash on that property, probably this high minimum. 5 huge, of the largest dumpsters, just to get rid of that. So the property has been challenging and kind of an eyesore, but the property itself is absolutely stunning. And so, you know, even now, we've cleaned it up, and we've been working on it to bring it to a level that would be acceptable to us as homeowners wanting to live right next to it.
Is this concrete drive, asphalt, gravel? What exactly is there
It's
today?
combination. The up to about, I'm going to say 50 feet from the house, it's asphalt, and then it's a concrete driveway from in front of the house through the drive-through into the back.
Yeah, Brian King with Engineering 3. The areas that are shaded in gray are asphalt, and the area that is stippled with concrete hatch.
So you're looking to add asphalt?
Yes, this gray area here is all asphalt. The yellow would be an addition to that, just so we could get the standard parking space.
So there's not an enormous amount of addition of asphalt?
No.
No, I mean, our total, we're less than 5,000 square feet of disturbance just to make the improvements that staff requested for the entrance and connection of the two drives. The whole idea is to create this boutique feel.
Right.
Very much I don't know, special needs, but keep it very much a residential feel rather than institutional.
Okay.
Since this is going to be a school, is there any fencing requirement or anything like that that they would have to?
It would be if they do outdoor, depending on the age range.
Our students are 6th grade through 12th grade. There is already a fence in the front of the yard and the side.
This is a 4-foot PVC fence?
Yes. The property is well hidden, obviously, but of course the existing house impedes into the.
I think that would be important for those neighbors to understand that if it's 6th through 12th grade, it's not going to be a bunch of, 3-year-olds screaming and yelling and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
6 through 12, they tend to be a little bit more mellow at that point. So.
They do, and our student population right now, for the last 3 years, we have, and again, 6th through 12th grade, we have 1 student that drives this year. We had 2 students that drove last year, 1 the previous year. These students need a lot of support. Great students, very calm, very.
So your traffic count is adding 10 cars, 12 cars, 14 cars to the count?
That's it.
Nothing.
I don't want to talk about the use just yet, because I'd like to hear public comment.
Yeah.
But as far as the variance is concerned, I think the 75-foot buffer is there for a particular reason. And every time we do dissimilar uses, most residential occupants that are abutting it really want that 75-foot buffer for their pleasure, and make sure that they're really screened from whatever uses they have. So I really think the applicant needs to come back in and work with us to try to figure out a way to do this without a variance, to put the parking somewhere else where we can maintain the buffer.
How do you resolve the?
Sit down and look at this site plan again and figure out another way to park those cars somewhere.
I'm talking about the existing parking that's already there.
It's in the buffer.
That's in the buffer. So how do you? I mean, I can understand that you're wanting to stay out of the 75 feet. I get that, but
But
you
they
already
got
have an
pre-existing already,
pre-existing that's there.
You can't tell them to take it
Now,
out.
I understand the fact they're changing their variance, but
It's just the yellow that's being put in.
I think that the existing driveway is there, but the parking isn't there.
No, the parking.
All we've done is
They're just
stripe
wanting
the
to put the
existing
yellow in.
asphalt.
Is that color right here? This is one part that would be added. This already exists, which is already in.
Right. It exists as a driveway, but now we're putting parking.
Right.
And those car lights are gonna be facing
Yeah.
those neighbors at night, and they'll be driving in and turning their headlights on, and we've gotten complaints from many people saying, wait a minute, now we have lights in the parking lot because it's at night, and all of a sudden it's a parking lot.
well, it comes down to my comment about light pollution.
Right, well, maybe there's a way to look at this where we can put the parking somewhere else
Right.
and maintain that 75-foot buffer for the folks that are adjoining it.
Roy, what I
Not to
would
say that they'd be for or against it, they might be in opposition to the use altogether,
I would think that we need to make this the minimal impact on the community as possible.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, a very simple solution would be to plant some lelands or some type of screening here. We can reduce the parking count, because I think 12 is excessive for what we really need.
Well, reducing the parking would help, putting it out of the buffer zone would help. And then,
but I guess where I'm trying to go is as part of the conforming, do you take and get them to dig up what's already there and move it over to within the?
Yeah, you can dig up the existing concrete, reroute the driveway, and replant that buffer.
And on the front, at the very front, centering it up to Roxbury probably wouldn't be a bad idea in terms of the entrance. You know, centering it where it's not, where it's offset from a traffic standpoint.
I just think we should look at it and figure out a way to deal with that. I mean, you don't need the buffer when it's a single-family residence, but once you put a school, that buffer is required, and it's really critical for the adjoining properties. In the event this gets approved by council, I would want to do it where we at least be able to tell the
Right.
homeowners that we fought to maintain those required buffers.
Roy, the point coming down to is that you have to look at what the objections to this is going to be.
Correct.
You have to minimize the number of objections, get more people on your side, because obviously the school's a good thing in terms of something that's necessary for the community. A school is not a use that next to residential is all that bad. I mean, there could be a lot of positive for the community for it, but we still have to mitigate those things that the community may find against it.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you were putting this school next to my house and I happen to be Timothy or Robin or Robert over here, and I would be coming and saying, well, wait a minute now, I don't want anybody over here in my 75 feet because I'd like to have as much distance as I can possible. So it may come down to that your need is going to be, as Bob has said, your best course of action is going to be to mitigate those losses in terms of what the consumers may find or the citizens find offensive to it.
Let me ask a question with that as we go into it now. The buffer, it looks like 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 parking spaces would not be in the buffer currently. Would that
Right.
be correct? That'd be accurate?
Yes.
And-
But it would require you rerouting the driveway, I would guess. And I would think that I would propose that you center your driveway of the way you're going to get in and out, something that runs parallel to, or runs not parallel, but across from Roxbury, only because that would make more sense from a traffic pattern instead of having cars coming and going off center, off kilter. You know, I've had to move whole streets just because I was one house off of having my streets lined up, because a straight intersection is a much better intersection than one that is a few feet off or 50 feet off or whatever it may be from a traffic
One of
pattern.
the obstacles that we were looking at here is the exit we aligned with Roxborough. The entrance we left as is.
Right.
Trying to get the minimal disturbance. We also have a 44-inch hardwood, I believe it's an oak, that sits in the center here, so we're trying to minimize any disturbance of that.
I would tell you that is a mitigating factor, that saving a tree would be an important thing, and that would be something I would bring up to the community as a whole. I think the most offensive thing they would have is, as Bob said, the parking lights going into their houses, and they're looking for privacy because that's why they bought acreage, is so they could have privacy. So that being said, there's still a workaround that would be working closely with staff to be able to come up with a plan that the public can buy into and keep the public informed. And this is not going to be an instantaneous process of you getting this approved to get done. It's going to be, for a lack of better words, it's going to be salesmanship of your side to be to the community, and to go out and, you know, whenever I used to have to build subdivisions within the municipality I worked, I was required to have stakeholder meetings. And I had lots of meetings where I sat down and had people make comments that I thought were incredibly stupid and irrelevant for me. However, at the end of the day, when I got all of the comments and I got all of it together, we came to a meeting of the minds that I found reasonable, and the public had buy-in to my community. And that's what you're going to have here, is public buy-in to the community. And getting rid of the variance portion of this is going to be probably one of your number one goals.
With that being said, and I'm just a little confused on the variance because the home still sits within the variance.
We can't change that, but we can change the parking. So the parking is the least expensive portion of it.
Sure.
And
Marty, let me, if we take these 6 perpendicular parking, convert them to 3 parallel parking, you don't have a headlight issue? Because the parking is not.
I would suggest to you that you try, that still requires a variance. And my input to you is whatever you have to do to make this where it has no variance to it and working with city staff is what you need to do.
The best scenario would be if you can get Tim and Robin and Robert here to say, we're okay with this plan. I don't think they're probably okay with this. I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you get to the point where you get those 3 folks saying, we're okay with it.
Okay, this was what Robin had come back with, is the suggestion.
Okay.
For us. This is why we put this in.
This is what
Okay, I
Robin
will
came
do
back
that.
with? Oh.
I'll get there. Okay, what I'm going to try to do is get to public comment, but the
may
number
want you
one
to
thing I
comment.
want you to walk away from this conversation is let's try to do this without a variance.
Sure.
Let's go out to the public, try to get the public to have buy-in to the school, because that is the only way you're going to be able to do this. Yes, council can vote however they choose, and that is not something we get to decide, but I can tell you that you get enough people complaining. And just remember this as a logic issue. If you were Timothy or Robin, and you bought, and this piece of property was being used a particular way, and you built your house, you knew what was here. If you knew what was there, you have a hard time complaining about what's there because it was there when you built your house. Now, if you come in and you make a change, then Timothy and Robin, in fact, can have a complaint because the use is not the same use. Your use actually probably is better than the use of raising dogs underneath the building. You know, I mean, I don't live, I've never lived there, so I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is that you are changing a use, and somebody bought their property based on the use of the property that was around them. And so when you're doing it, making a change and you're asking for it, you got to go out and basically sell your project to this community and get them to buy into it. I applaud your efforts. I applaud the fact that you have the school. I think it's an incredibly useful, necessary thing. So, you know, and I don't think there's anybody on this board that would feel differently about that. You know, it's just, we have our limitations.
Well, and with that being said, and certainly respect that, there would probably be an opportunity if we're talking 3 or 4 parking spaces, because that's what we're concerned about, obviously, in the variance, even towards the front where the driveway is. That would be an opportunity for us to shift a few of the parking spaces where there would be no variance required.
Right. And that's the goal you need to set. 2 goals. No variance. Second goal, community buy-in.
Yep.
Those are your 2 goals.
That's true.
And next, after that being said, there's nothing else for me to say, so we will go to public comment. Come on up, sir.
Okay. All right.
You want to turn the board around so they can see?
Sorry? Glad to do it. Sure. Good evening. My name is Greg Bunshoe. I live at 14690 Glen Creek Way. That's the Shadowwood Farm subdivision. It's a couple hundred yards down the street east from the proposed school property. My wife and I have lived in our house for 20 years, so we're some of those folks that bought with an expectation of what the area would look like and develop, and we think the school use is not appropriate in that location. And like the Design Review Board, we have a number of concerns that are fairly specific, I think, to the use of the property, specifically the growth plans. Property sits on 10 acres. We've attended the community zoning meeting and are still uncertain with respect to the intent to grow the school or maintain the school beyond 25 students.
In fact, the school website indicates that it's currently larger than 25 students, so this presumably would be a shrinkage of the current school population. With respect to traffic, we're concerned about the extent of traffic, obviously, and what is a residential use. We're not, again, clear on the number of vehicles that will be accessing the property. If there are 10 to 12 students who will drive, there is also an indication on the website that there are 8 teachers who will be accessing the school at various points of time, in addition to the cars maintained by the residents of the property as well. Clearbrook next door is a pretty considerable sized neighborhood, and they have a curb cut, they have a sidewalk, and they have the other amenities associated with that amount of traffic moving in and outside of the property. So we'd like to see some more specificity regarding how to handle the traffic. And we'd also note that within less than a quarter of a mile is the Hopewell-Cogburn roundabout, and the roundabout has already started to back up traffic across Francis Road as well, and additional traffic and density is not what I think the community needs in the area. And then lastly, the parking lot situation is a concern. The street is entirely, Francis Road is entirely comprised of residences. Any parking lot situation that's not screened, not properly designed, not suitably maintained for the use for protection of Clearbrook and the other surrounding residents would certainly be a standout property that's not consistent with the current use of the current land use plan. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, just a quick question, are you adjacent to this property at all?
Our
Or you're down the
subdivision
road?
is about 300 yards to the east of
Okay,
the
so you're
current
not
property.
adjacent to this property then?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Robin Frickton. I live at 2970 Francis Road, which is right next to Crooked Creek. I'm about a quarter of a mile down the road. Okay, lived in Milton now for 32 years, and basically we're a residential area. You put in a school, you just open it up for more other structures than schools. I mean, we got a pet lodge right down the road. We got another kind of business, we don't know what it is, on the corner across from that. All the schools, though, are on Cogburn Road. There's property across from the high school that's available that could be used for this. There's properties in on Highway 9, all the retail. Look at all the empty space we got that's retail. Okay, and the problem is we're residential. We don't need a school on Francis Road. Let them go down to Cogburn. Now, the other problem I have with it is he's probably going to take all this and make it a nonprofit. He's probably already a nonprofit. That means you got 10 acres now that's not in the tax base anymore. And so with the taxes going up, we really need more people to pay tax. We got enough schools that aren't, enough land, churches, everything on Cogburn Road that aren't paying anything. But we, the residents in that area, are paying drastically for all the traffic and the accidents that are in that area. The turnaround we got now, I mean, the traffic's unbelievable. Stop signs, they were backed up, but now it's wide open. More 18-wheelers are coming down, using that, tearing up all that. We just don't need the extra traffic for the school. We don't need the tax base to be reduced. There is a private school down the road going towards Alpharetta. They have they gave them I guess somebody, they paid for, I guess, a lane to turn into to get in there. But our traffic on Francis Road, in the morning, my wife normally had to wait 15 minutes sometimes to get on Francis Road from our driveway. It is really bad. Now, I was lucky. I left at 6 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't too bad, but it was bad enough at 6 o'clock. Putting a school there is just not going to do anything for the traffic. And I'm really worried about the tax base. We need as much, this you call it a business, and you mentioned, well, yeah, it's good. Everybody wants a school next to their homes in a residential area. Well, that's why you got all the high schools, all the schools on Cogburn Road. Everybody knows that's where all the schools are. We don't need a school on Francis Road. Let's just keep it residential. Thank you.
Any additional comment? Bob and Angela and board, you have any comment? Laura? Anybody?
I'd like to make sure that anybody who's in opposition and any homeowners that want to really voice this in favor of or in opposition, it's very important that they attend the actual meeting at the council level.
Okay.
That's where the decision will ultimately be made. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that that is a key meeting to attend.
Great. So I'm assuming everybody heard what you just said. What Bob just said was to make sure you attend the council meetings and subsequent meetings related to this particular issue so that your voice can be heard, whether it's for it or against it.
The city council makes the ultimate decision, so.
And for the public, just know that from our board perspective, you know, we're all human beings. We get our personal view of whatever it may or may not be. And so it's not that we're taking sides with anybody in any particular one issue. You know, I will make this one statement in that when I first came onto this board, we had an opportunity to build a church. Somebody came along and brought along and wanted to build a church. And so everybody got up in arms and didn't want to build the church. There are now 28 or 32 houses going on this particular site where there was going to be one church. So I think that's important for us to keep our eyes open and to look forward and see what is the best use for our community as a whole.
Yeah, and one other thing here is, you know, it's 10 acres. It's going to be used for something. So if it's going to stay residential, you got to assume there's going to be 6, 7 new homes popped in there. 6, 7 new homes is just as many cars as you're going to get with this school. It's going to be no different. So you're going to have the traffic. You're going to have the density. You make a great point about the contribution to the tax base. That's a good point.
May I actually say,
Sure.
My wife and I, and certainly appreciate that, my wife and I are buying the property. Sorry. Roy Alexander. My wife and I are personally buying the property. The school is a nonprofit, but we will own the property, so the taxes will still be residential, still be personal. So that part is certainly under consideration. And but for the record, to know who is actually buying. And as far as the property also, this is the only property that we can have financial help with the owners to be able to actually have the school. So all of those considerations viable.
And one of the things you may want to consider too is that you know, you may want to have to come out and agree to some limitation on the number of students, because, you know, honestly, 10 acres is a lot of land. You could put a pretty decent sized building on there. So, you know, don't think you're going to walk in with 25 and then come back next year and say, well, let me go to 50 or let me go to 150. You know, it causes a lot of heartache to people. So there may be some people looking for commitments early on to say, look, we're only going to do up to this.
Because, and that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, that may come up at some point.
And it is the unknown that scares people the most.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's the unknown and what's going to happen. So the best advice we can give you is public buy-in, no variances. And so you're affecting these particular neighbors in this particular area, and it's going to have to be the majority of those folks wanting to see the school there.
You should try to get those people that live adjacent to show up if they're in support of it.
We will.
That will help.
We certainly
be helpful.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Without any other public comment on this particular issue, we're going to move on. And do we have any new business? Do we have any old business? And I call this